I got 11 o'clock,
It's been quiet.
so we'll call the work session to order. This is going to be the work session in preparation for our September 2nd agenda, which is our first meeting in September. And it is going to be post the Labor Day holiday. So one of the things that I've been asked to be sure to say is that we will do the double pickup on Tuesday, September the 2nd. So we will have no service, no crash service on Monday the 1st, but we will have the double pickup on Tuesday the 2nd. So, and probably start just a little bit early, so be sure to get it out in time, please. Get the trash out the street in time. So, all right, but on the agenda is, and this is gonna be sort of a free-flowing discussion, y'all, and we normally don't do that, but I have sent y'all an email a while back about considering the implementation of a 4-day work week. And I had asked our department heads to give me some feedback on what they thought. Each one of them has, to the extent, for example, and we've got them here, so questions coming up. Lisa, for example, has said that that'd be a little difficult for her to implement based on her staffing level. But for example, they would be willing to come in at 5:30, yeah, right, at 7:30 and work till 5:30, and then maybe have Friday and noon off. Or there are options for, Edward has said that his folks would be like a flex time, maybe every other Friday off, for example. So, and I just was trying to get some input from department heads on how it might work. The impetus for me doing that, guys, is because we're trying to figure out how to provide quality of life for folks so that we can attract the Gen Z, the next generation of workers who are kind of more quality of life driven than the 9-to-5, 8-to-5 that, I grew up with, and most of us probably grew up with. So we're trying to think outside the box and see what options might be available. Went to Columbus, visited with their HR person over there, and she said that, they love their 4-day work week. So they slap closed down on Friday.
I was gonna say they do it
They
differently.
do. They absolutely closed down on Friday. And she said, I remember when they did it. They did it. It was after you, right? They shut down and did it, I think, for cost savings at the time. And then at some point, not too long ago, they opened back up again for 5 days a week. And then they went back to 4 day a week because everybody loved it. And so again, I'm just trying to think, and I wanted to see as we go through this, is there any sense, I want to get a feel from the board, if there is any sense that perhaps that, 4-on-3 office is something we'd be willing to do. I had envisioned it more as a flexible time where you were open from 7:30 to 5:30, and then some of your people would work Monday through Thursday and others would work Tuesday through Friday, for example. But from a staffing perspective, that apparently doesn't really work. So I've kind of backed off that one and tried to think, how else might we do it? Might we shut down entirely on Fridays at noon? I know the county does that. Well, I was with Supervisor Miller this morning, and she was saying that the county, shuts down at noon. Their road crews go home at noon. And so I thought, well, I just wanted to pitch that out there, let y'all be thinking about it, because I do think it's important from a quality of life standpoint how we attract these kids who are looking at work balance, life balance differently. And so, again, just wanted to kind of get feedback from everybody is, would you be willing to look at shutting down on Friday completely? Is that something we'd be willing to entertain? I'm biased to not doing that, but I'm willing to think differently about it because we do need to be able to attract people and make it a place where people want to work, whether they're in admin or their street department or whatever. It's like you could treat a Friday like you treat a Saturday. If you have an emergency, you do an emergency call out crew or something. So anyway, I just want to toss that around and see what the initial thoughts are. Alderman Vaughn, you got any thoughts about it? You can pass. Again, this is just free flow. Here you go.
I'm willing to go first if you want me to.
All right.
Yeah, most of the jobs I came from, that's where we had days staggered like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some last job that Magistrate, we worked 4 days a week.
Okay.
Was it 14 hours? 14 hours.
Okay, 14 hours. Okay.
And on the weekend, we volunteered Friday, Saturday, we volunteered.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it was mandatory, something that we just had to do. And then when I was at Bryan, we staggered the weekend, like you said, some will be off this weekend, some will have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, because they have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, every week, 3-day weekend. staggering hours like that. But just like you say, you got to find something to accommodate these kids. These kids don't want to work. So you got to make it more easy for them. Something to give them the want to come to work. And I think they will enjoy working 4 days a week, but we just got to find a way that we can maintain the city, have the city still running efficiently with everybody going. It's something we just got to look in and think about.
Was that a big bonus or a big plus for you guys when you worked the 4 days, 4 day week? And the rate 4 on 3 off?
You don't wear your employees out.
Yeah. Even though it was 10-hour days?
It's 10-hour days, and you don't have a whole lot of missing work.
Yeah.
You wasn't a whole lot of missing and hanging out, because they knew in 4 days they knew they were gonna be off.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Alderman Beatty, do you have any thoughts on that?
For this expert on personnel part for years, so I thought it was good.
Okay. All right. Alderman Carter?
Yeah, so I actually did some case studies on this one in the masters, and I will tell you, I was leaning against it, and toward the end of my studies, it's typically implemented in larger cities like Los Angeles, the one I looked at. They've got an average hour and a half, 2 hour commute. Starkville don't have that issue, so we're gonna have to address it from a quality of life standpoint, an employee retention standpoint. I ended my 2 papers kind of leaning toward it. I would say I lean toward it. Typically an 8-hour workday, some of the guys might agree, but they say the average person probably only gets about 4 to 5 hours of work in by the time you figure coffee breaks and a lunch and things like that. So what happens when you rotate to a 10-hour workday, you actually get more work done, but it's not staggered morning and staggered afternoon. You saw that employees would not take as many sick days and as many other days and vacation days because they knew they got their 4 in, and that's a pretty long weekend. Obviously, this is non-essential services. We'll have to figure out which departments can run, can do this. I would like to see it done on an interim basis, maybe 3 or 6 months, and not be a set stone. Obviously, what's going to work for the city of Starkville, if it's pickup and things like that, we may need to continue. Summertime is the best time to usually implement it first, when that's dead time for us. It may be a hard time to do it now. In the middle of football season, when you've got a lot of things go on. So I'd say I kind of lean toward it.
Yeah.
They've shown the workflow, and people get used to that. They, with professional level stuff, our employees get there on time, they get started, they get more work done without getting interrupted. And also, y'all probably know if you're here at 7:30, you can probably get a lot done in those first 30 minutes before the general public has to building. So I would say I lean toward it.
Okay. Well, I knew that, police and fire will be different because they're different, but they're admin folks. Heard from both chiefs and said that the admin folks would be beneficial. They thought it would be a good thing. So, obviously, other than that, your normal firefighter and patrol person would be on the same kind of schedule. So, Alderman Rupp?
Yeah, I'm open to it as well. I'm probably going to do it on a trial to see how it impacts our customers, citizens.
Okay. Alderman Brooks?
Well, speaking from someone who was doing business with City of Columbus when they first went to that, as an appraiser and broker trying to get information, it was pretty tough there for a while because they were completely closed down. And because they stopped when we stopped, And so I think we got to consider that we've got 220 or 240 employees versus 26,000 citizens.
Right.
And, we can't leave those guys. And then, Carter said, Friday's a big day. We got all these people coming into town, a lot of these people on condos and stuff here in town that are visitors. And that means they come in for ball games. That'll be the only time they can visit city halls to take care of their business. So I really like the idea of what you said first about this group works for, and start with Monday and then this start with Tuesday. I just really hate to see us completely shut down City Hall on Fridays. I know we got employees and stuff. It's an important fact in trying to lure and keep employees, but we've also got we got a responsibility to the citizens to be here when they need us here, to take care of their business. So, at a minimum, if we went something like that, we would have to really beef up our website and stuff, where people could do more online stuff. And that was another problem. What we can't get to Columbus City because of the zoning.
Well, fortunately, Fortunately, we're ahead of them on that,
I
in that
understand.
regard,
We
yeah,
are.
yeah.
But still, you got, there's just a ton of people. that
Sure. Yeah.
I just think we need to keep that.
Well, which is why I was thinking, that there are certainly opportunities you can do, you can shut down at noon, be open Friday mornings and shut down at noon. So I just wanted to see where you were, and it's interesting that you had to interact with the change.
Yeah.
Because I assume it's what you set expectations for, and what you knew they were closing on Friday, you knew not to go on Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes some
And
getting
it
used
took a
to.
little while too, because,
Yeah.
some come up on Friday and call all day, and the phone ring.
They're closed, that's right, yeah. Okay. All right, Alderman Sister.
And I agree with everybody and everything that they said. I'm just agreeable today, but I think the key thing is that we do keep our customers in mind, and that we make sure that we're available when they need us to be available. To that end, I think it might be interesting to do a couple of time studies and track when we have people calling in, and we may be able to get some of that information from our IT people, when people are calling in, when people are coming into the office. So what we may find is that on Friday afternoons, people aren't coming into the office. I know that I've come up here before on a Friday afternoon, and if there's a slow time,
Yeah.
that's it. But that doesn't mean necessarily that
Yeah.
there's nothing going on during those hours. I think that from a human resources perspective, we have the things in place that we need to have in place to be able to track time and make sure that people are working when they're supposed to be working. So if anybody out there has concerns about that, we've got the information that we need to do that. I think that ideally, we probably go to a department by department approach. So where Lisa may need to be open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, their IT may be able to swag.
Well, and that's a perfect example. Joel has said flex time works for him. So he would have somebody who would be off on a particular day, but they're flexing in the sense that they could still be potentially available if something came up, right? Go ahead and share what your vision was for your IT folks.
Well, I was sort of looking at the Mississippi State policy that they recently adopted, and theirs built in a lot of flexibility by department, and essentially said we recognize all departments are very different, have different staffs, different needs. We support all departments. Several of the departments we support are 24/7 operations, and so we're available, highly available throughout the day. And so, and of course, we can accomplish a lot of our work remotely, as you know, we can remote into systems and do diagnostics and troubleshoot remotely. We would always have staff on site. In fact, the majority of the staff would be on site. We're a small department, we're 4 people. I think as we look at this, keeping in mind that each department's very different, and we have very small ones that can accomplish things remotely, and that can be different than other departments. If there's some flexibility built in where we can all agree upon something like that, where there is some, somebody could have a designated remote day, and they could be working, but they could be remote and save a commute. So that, I thought that policy, and I think they just adopted it 2 or 3 weeks ago, really. It's something that I think some individual departments out there had been doing that already, and they just sort of, codified that, and so I thought that was a really good template for sort of my idea of how that would work.
Okay, so yeah, each department would absolutely have a different way to go about it, and each department had to, choose how they do that, as long as we're serving the customer.
And so I think that would be certainly a first step forward, and on a test basis for, I think you probably need to do it 6 months to get a real feel for whether or not it works. And again, on a department by department basis. If we think we might want to be closed on Friday afternoons, I think it would behoove us to do some time studies and make sure that, just we have some data to show that we're not impacting our general customer base significantly by closing on Friday afternoons.
Okay,
Sounds
yeah,
good.
yeah, I'm sorry.
And you look at from another standpoint, you don't just have to close on Fridays, as long as they get some time off.
Exactly.
Like when I was at Blind Food, we knew our slow days. When our slow days, we scheduled people on our slow days. I mean, we used them on the big days. But the slow days like Monday and Tuesday, we knew those were kind of slow days. We scheduled people up on Monday and Tuesday. But then it'd be somebody else turn the next week. It was always flip-flop.
Yeah.
It was always that we had somebody scheduled off.
Somebody had an opportunity to be
Somebody
off.
had opportunity to be off and didn't want to.
Yeah.
Schedule them off, they took it was okay, but then it was still okay.
Okay.
It probably takes a lot more managerial effort to staff, to schedule and staff in a way that's fair to the employees and to the customers. So I think it's gonna come back to department heads and what they think they can and will support.
But that's really the main one, got the management department. He don't know how many people he need on what day he need them on, you know. Except the fire department, police department, is something different. Elderly might be a little different with everyone, you know, he got. It's just long as they get the time off, you know, so they won't keep getting burned out. A lot of them burn out.
So the same thing, I'll probably lean in more toward not a complete shutdown of City Hall, but use your department for example. But I think all the buildings I go to on campus, there's at least somebody there that answers the door. Your weekend might be for one individual, you're off Monday and then next Friday. Vice versa, you still get the 3-day advantage of that. But I don't know, I think it'd be good to have a face here if somebody comes in. I know in all the buildings I go, say somebody there, you hit the button, they come up, you know, they stagger that out. But have y'all looked into any kind of energy savings as one of these reasons for shutting?
No, because if we have someone here, it's not gonna matter, and that was one of the things that Columbus says, they didn't save the energy even when they were shut down, because they still had people who were coming in. So it wasn't an energy savings, for me, it was purely an opportunity to attract and retain. Because I do think that while we might save a little bit, I don't think it's worth trying to run numbers on that. I think it's more quality of life and employee satisfaction.
Alderman Beatty and Alderman Vaughn, and maybe Alderman Brooks probably remember when lots of towns closed every Wednesday afternoon. They just locked the doors.
Some still do it, but they usually close because they're open Saturday.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Maybe about that, enforced.
They're open on Saturday
Saturday
morning?
morning.
Well, that's not a trade-off on everybody.
But I do like the hours, the idea of having expanded hours so that for somebody who needs to do business here and can't get here easily from 8 to 5, have an extra hour in the afternoon or whatever to get in.
We can play with it further. But anyway, I just want to make sure that as we were talking about it, this wasn't something that everybody went, oh, absolutely not. So we'll continue to take a look at it and see where we might start a trial and do maybe a work study, time study, for usage of the City Hall on Friday afternoon, let's say. So, all right, that was all I had. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate your participation. So we can move to our agenda. Again, this will be on the 3rd. So we have a couple sets of minutes. Mr. Latimer, have you gotten those where you think they should be?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, are we good for consent on those? All right, consent for the 2 sets of minutes, which would be August the 2nd and August the 12th, one's a work session, one's a regular meeting. We've got some employee introductions. I'm happy to say we've got several employees to introduce, we will do. No public appearances this time around. Anybody have anything from a board standpoint, any comments that you'd like to have in the record so that this is part of the agenda? No?
Records, as a record of this meeting, record.
No, I'm just talking about to put it on the agenda, if you had something that you wanted to have on the agenda so there'd be a record of
So I
it.
think we're all supposed to take, I don't think we'll necessarily elevate stuff to a Tuesday night. Meeting not.
Okay, is it part of what's on the agenda? You have other things? Oh, well, if you've got something you want to bring up, go right ahead.
Yes, sir. Tell me, what's status of the meeting?
It is currently, I sent a letter to Ms. Smith as of the end of this month that she has 30 days to move out the children and the operation, and then 30 days from there to move her belongings out so that we can then shut it down and begin the process of asbestos abatement. And so that's.
Is that with the intention of rehabbing the existing building?
No, that's with the intention of removing the existing building, as part of that park plan.
And And what, tell the board, and again, this is how much it costs and how we can pay for this, you know, you need more something. And what's the square footage and stuff, you need more something.
Well, that was something that Alderman Brooks had worked on with Kimley Horn. The new size is about 3,000 square feet. About 3,000 square feet.
What's the current size?
6,000. And it is dilapidated is a kind way to put it. Let me just put it that way. And so it would be reconfigured to open up the park area, make the park more accessible and more attractive and more usable for public. It would take that building and become more usable again for, I won't say parties, that's not what I want to use, for events, for family gatherings, or for, you know, have more of a pavilion like is over at McKee Park. It would have updated facilities. The kitchen would be updated. It would have better bathroom, certainly, some open space in it, some pavilion kind of space outside. So that is the goal for that.
Where's the funding coming from? Construction, profits?
Well, that's part of what we're looking at doing with the McKee and the Needmore. Needmore was first on the list because McKee had to wait. And it was part of our plan to use some of the bond monies that we had. And I don't know how much is left, if any, after Cornerstone. So that's
And I will say that the monies will come from the 1% and 2% funds. We will probably wind up issuing some additional bonds, but we have the revenues to service those bonds out of those 1% and 2% monies.
Dropped out tax, served down bonds,
And I think they can be relatively short-term bonds, 10 years.
I think it needs to be stated that, and I said it before, but we have a dilapidated pool house in Mercury Park. We have a car running through one side of it this summer. It's comparative to city's car. And, you know, I don't think we have to do a Taj Mahal, the pool house over there. We need a functioning pool house. It has no interest to you, but I mean, it is our city, it's our one city swimming pool. And it's like other places, I take, I have people in town, we can all take them up here and show them. The pool's beautiful, man, great job, but facility, the pool house is awesome. And we are 26,000 population town, spending money on parks, downtown, build grants, and a lot of that, some of it's bonds, some of that's grants, some of local money. And we're making decisions on need more centers and things, and just pretending like Montgomery Park. I mean, maybe you're gonna be saying things and stuff.
Yes, I have.
I'm just saying, it's important, it is important. And I would elevate that to and it's not even that's all system of board, that, not my ward, but it's still our city park, it's still a city park with our own city swimming pool, and it's in bad shape, and nobody's in the fact it's in bad shape. I don't know why.
I would disagree. I think we are interested in it, and I think Mr. Doherty is here, I think he's working on a plan to put it back together again.
Oh, we don't just scrap that thing, absolutely, we go see, and provide. I mean, something, it'd be a metal building, it'd be something with it functions, it's air conditioned, it's hot. Does everybody realize that the changing rooms in this 70-year-old building don't have tops on them? Our changing room, men and women, you walk off, y'all know that, you walk off one and all.
I used to change it.
You go and change the room, and you're looking up at the sky. You change your clothes, go from basic, I mean, I'm saying, they might have done that in the 1950s, but it's different now, and we still have that kind of stuff. Ain't nobody talking about that. I think that needs to be our priority right now. We start spending $1 million or whatever we're gonna spend on need more centers. There needs to be some money, some minimal amount of money, some money allocated, and not, we talk, no, it's like a chamber of commerce where I used to talk to the deal. Figure out what we want to do, get a plan, get somebody draw us something up that we can afford. Let's do a contract and just replace that pool building. I mean, we need to do that. We talk at it in perpetuity, but I think that's something important city starts. And now half of it's gone, and we got crime day stretched around the park that the car drove drive up. I'd probably drive up to Market Park with this pool. If you haven't been there lately, it'd be an eye-opener for you. But I think that's important. Now, miss this, Mayor, on the Needle thing, folks over there, they've been fully consulted, they pretty much, folks who lived in that area for decades, they've kind of always considered that their community center. I mean, they're okay with the downsizing and stuff of this building and.
Well, their major, well, they came to us at the board meeting, as you recall, and their major concern was not having a dog park, which has been removed, and not having a basketball court go away, which it is not, it's staying. So I think that they have been satisfied by that. That building has not been used other than by Ms. Smith, and I came to find out not too long ago that she had actually been subletting it to a church facility, which was against the lease agreement. And so we are, and it's got no sprinkler, it's an assembly building when you do that. So we need to definitively get rid of that building as opposed to revamping it, because it's one of those buildings that you just really are not in a position to redo it. It's kind of like you want to take the entire Moncrief thing down. This one is one of those, and so.
Well, they consulted in
Yes,
how this building will be built.
Alderman Brooks had several meetings with them, as did Henry or Owen Harris, both of them. So yes, they've been a part of the discussion and part of the process.
Second thing, kiosks, and the kiosks, plural.
2 kiosks, yes.
Staffs.
We have been unable to manage it at this point. Mr. Corbin has been working, trying to get a credit card on the backside, and we haven't been able to find a credit card purveyor who will meet the flow meter, flow bird, thank you.
Is our computer system, so is it not ordinary or not common as far as what municipalities use, where somebody would sync, somebody's company that makes kiosks would sync with it?
Our software, we use a provider called Global Payments, and Global Payments doesn't integrate with Flowbird. So we would have to go and get a second credit card processor in order to.
So there's not anybody that would sync with what we have now?
There's possibly, but.
We haven't found it.
So when we talked about the kiosk back 2 months ago, again, I assumed, maybe I shouldn't assume, I assumed that we were moving to install a kiosk, and 60 days later, there's no kiosk, there's no plans when they're gonna go in. And
Well,
that was
we
supposed to be part of, when the ball games kind of started up, that was part of the deal. And I'll say it again, I was in Memphis, Midtown Memphis for the day of parking lot. I don't have you see what's here right now? They had a kiosk, and I walked up the corner, put my credit card in, and in about less than 30 seconds, I bought 3 hours, $5, but they making money on it. But I was glad to pay it, but it gave me an option. And some people will find that more comfortable to use, and they will be doing having a smart mobile smart app on their iPhone. And I think we ought to accommodate people now that we made this a substantial part of parking in the Cotton District a park. And I know it goes away after 5 o'clock, so still, I mean, I want people to have an option to do it.
8 o'clock is way.
8 o'clock, okay, 8 o'clock.
I just want to make sure if those people were
So,
listening.
but I mean, I think that needs to be done, and I think we need a time frame on it, and we need some definitive information about when they're gonna be installed, and not, we're just working on it, you know?
Well, I don't know what else to tell you, because we had no idea we were gonna run into the issue of credit cards not being accepted. So we've been working our way through locating where we were gonna put them, of making arrangements of the credit card. We thought we were good, and then suddenly we weren't, and so we've been trying to.
You know what, Mayor? I think we ought to work that, we should have worked that out in front of you. I know it's money more quarterback, but we ought to work that kind of stuff out in front of you.
Well, it was not anticipated, so I understand what you're saying, and I was waiting to see if we were gonna be able to get the credit card piece of it worked out and what it would take to do that. So that's kind of where we were.
One other thing, Mr. Kemp, on our downtown water line sewer line replacement, definitive, when do we expect? Are we engineering the project, is somebody engineering the project for us? You know, and where are we on that, and how close are we to putting this out for?
I've got, do you have the timeline in your head? Because I've got it in an email from Mary.
I mean, where, we
I don't
go
have
to
it
bid
yet.
and this thing?
But the plans are 85 to 90% done.
Are we doing them in-house?
Yes, sir. Kimley Horn is doing it, the utility group, in conjunction with the.
Shall I?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Overall project schedule, September the 1st and the 2nd, progress meeting in Starkville, updated estimate. September 16th, sealed NFC set submitted to ARPA, progress meeting in Starkville. October 7th, Starkville comments returned, progress meeting in Starkville. October 31st, 100% plans and specs, bid ready. November 8th, board meeting for approval. December 22nd, contractor awarded. January 2023, construction starts. Okay? Absolutely. Okay. Yes, sir.
Why are we cutting this, Nemo Center so that you cutting that all the way in half from 6,000 square foot to 3,000? We cutting it, I mean, you just can't get a few people in there 6,000. So really, you ain't gonna, when you cut it to 3,000, you're not gonna have too many people to rent it out for no kind of evening or anything. You ain't gonna be able to get nobody in there with no 3,000. You very seldom, they can accommodate with 6,000.
Well, because it's $300 a square foot roughly, and 3,000 square feet is more than we can afford, or 6,000 square feet is more than we can afford.
So it'll be no more than 25, 30 to 40 people.
Well, generally, what we're looking at using it for is the same thing we use pavilions for. I mean, it's intended for gatherings, occasional gatherings and that kind of thing, so, as opposed to a conference, well, not conference room, conference period. But it's more park-like than it is, J.L. King, education center, et cetera, et cetera.
It's a small groups. Okay.
Yes, sir. And I don't think, to be perfectly honest, I don't think they've had occasion to have anybody use it beyond the school, the mentoring and after-school programs. Although she's been using it for other things, but it's always been smaller groups that could be accommodated in that smaller size. But they haven't used the whole building.
I mean, a lot of people start using it because it's so
In bad shape.
bad shape.
That's on us.
Well, I can't disagree with that. Well, I mean, it's on us in the sense that it's,
But is it gonna diminish, I understand, of course, myself, it's gonna diminish the function of just how we cut the square footage in half. The mail's pretty building, but if we got a 3,000 square foot building, we should be 6. I mean, what would they be able to host there, 3,000 square feet?
family reunions, et cetera, Alderman Brooks, go ahead.
That's a little misleading, like 6,000 square feet, because at least half, if not more, is pretty well walled off for that school, that daycare type school situation. So really all you got left is considerably smaller than 3,000 square feet. What we're going there to vote, that's the part that's really open for the church or whatever it is that they're using for family use, because the other part, the school is pretty well shut off for any type events that they're going to have. I mean, 60, 50 units with inside the building. But we know we are King Form did. I mean, it is going to be small, but it's designed wide door that opens up and go out to flow out into a big deck out back. People will bring in their grills and stuff for family music. So it's designed to live bigger than the 3,000 square feet. That's what's involved.
And more public use, more ability for the public to use it, for the families to use it, and that kind of thing that right now is almost all either J.L. King or McKee.
The other thing about it too, the way the building is designed now, it runs parallel with Gillespie Street, but you gotta go up almost terraces to get to it.
It's not
It's not ADA accessible at all, so the thought was, take it from being parallel with Gillespie, to turn it face Gillespie, and move it all the way to the west line. And if you're familiar with that street, that's pretty well at grade. So if someone was on the sidewalk, it would be more grade, and if there were, it would be more ADA accessible. They put the parking lot up where the building is now, which would be at grade with the building, so that you would be accessible more to the elderly or handicapped people and want to walk, because it's tough now. The day of the election, I had some people that was across the street coming by. We supposed to, they were on walkers or wheelchairs, and they couldn't get to the park. So that was some of the thought that we could do, make it a little bigger than it is. And the fact that it's not really, they don't really have 6,000 square feet to use for events now. They've really got considerably less than half of that, because we've also got those storage rooms on the east end. And the bathroom's kind of past.
And all in bad shape.
Very terrible shape.
and it hadn't been dealt with in decades. It was truly neglected.
Mayor, this is another subject, this, probably has been, it needs to elevate to the board, that kind of thing, that with you involved in this, and I've talked to Coach Burnett, and he's doing, Coach, doing a fast job, his capacities are, you see engineer, and got stuff going everywhere, which is great. He and I talked about traffic, our traffic systems. We've got issues with our traffic
Yeah,
systems.
well, we're, believe me, I'm
I
on
mean-
South Montgomery and 12.
Yeah.
Well,
I understand.
South Montgomery, North Montgomery, 182, it's just illogical, I mean, it don't make any sense. That, I mean, people grit their teeth trying to get through those things, and it's just, I mean, I don't know, I don't think you can go back to square one and re-engineer them, or what, or just what, and these blinking yellow lights that come on where we used to have a designated, I mean, you know, that may be the world we're in now, but it's, I know people can't come up South Montgomery, can't make a left turn on Highway 12.
And Cody is dealing with MDOT. MDOT is, you know, we deal with operations, we do, whether they're on or off, we deal with whether or not the bulbs are on, or, you know, the lights are there, but the timing belongs to MDOT. And so what they're doing is they're working with us to try to see if we can get the green left turn in the locations that's appropriate. And obviously the bill grant is impacting the North Montgomery and the 182 piece of that, but hopefully we'll get that worked out. But in the short term, we should still be able to do something with that. Cody, do you want to share anything from having talked to Matt?
Sure. I spoke with Matt Dunn yesterday. That's the district engineer, District 1 engineer from MDOT. And what we did is we went out and pretty much watched the lights at the AM hours, the noon hour, and the PM hour, and took a log of what is happening with those lights, put it in Excel, and then sent it to Mr. Matt for his team to work out, because that's a very esoteric part of engineering. We can collect the data, but really it's something to determine the flow, because it matters what time of day it is. And so we've sent that data to him, and he has promised us he would look at it and hopefully get that revised by game day is the goal. So it may be an iterative process. We may have to get it better this time, more comments, and then down the line, but it is being worked on. And we do not have any control of the timing whatsoever.
I mean, I wish we had something from engineering. I mean, I've advocated for, and talked in the past with Mr. Kim about citywide system. Richmond has one, state's got one, or something where we put out stuff like that. Instead of having to go out to all these next door neighbors and all that type of social sites, we have one website where we disseminate information about things like our traffic lights, about a water line that's broken, it's going to be interrupted, our traffic for 6 hours or something, our street is going to be closed, that kind of thing. We get it out, but we had one site where that could be done. City of Richmond got one right now. They call it Regional Alert or something like that, or something similar to what state's got. And they put every announcement, everything's going to go on City of Richmond on that one site.
Joel has been very good. Today's Matt's
Matt's
birthday, by
birthday
the
is
way.
today, yeah.
Sorry. Joel, Matt, Eddie, who left us, but anyway, Joel has been very good. He's taken information that he gets from the police department, information he gets from Edward. We put it out on our city's website, and then they push it out also through their website. So we've got multiple, and most people are part of our process. We've got that process.
I was going to say, of course, Sergeant Lovelady does a great job of getting things out on social media as well, but our website, citystarkville.org, you can sign up for text and email alerts. So when we put those news flashes out there, they will push out to you. So now, if you don't use social media, you can consume those alerts as well.
Through text.
Well, that's where I'm going with City of Richmond. And if you're a water sewer customer, they collect the information. They send you a text.
We've got it.
And everybody's a water sewer customer, City of Richmond, commercial and residential, gets text, alerts, whatever, blast, whatever we call it, just like state does on campus with that room. It doesn't require them having to be on social media.
Well, we've got it. We're collecting that data.
Oh, but we have a system like that, right? I don't think we do that.
Not yet. We have some plans to do what they call outage management system, and that's not exactly what you're talking about. That's more when there's a major outage, we can notify pockets of customers or specific streets or whole neighborhoods based on the outage that occurs. But I think you're talking about more just daily kind of routine communication.
Richmond asked, when you go to Richmond and sign up for water, sewer, guard, whatever, sign utilities, they ask you whether you want this system. You don't have to be bothered if you don't want it. But if you want it, you sign up right then. every time something happens to the original, it's pertinent to the citizens or business in the city of the original, they blast it, and everybody gets a text. So you don't have to be on Twitter, you don't have to be on Facebook, you know, I get it. I mean, it's a text. But that's important. Traffic lights being tweaked is an important thing. I appreciate you.
All right.
Mayor, I'd like to.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we've got actually 5 public hearings. We've got public hearings, and these are the ones on, associated with the community development. So, there, Ms. Havlin, you want to give us just a little brief rundown on these?
Yes, the
Please?
first public hearing, VA 22-09. This is in 2227 Lakewood Drive in the Shilley Hills neighborhood. And they're adding a carport, and because of site constraints, they have to add the carport to the side and to the front. So it's violating the setback requirements for a carport. This went to the Board of Adjustment Appeals on August 24th, and they voted unanimously to recommend approval.
Okay, and it will be a public hearing, so there's nothing we can do, but I just wanted to have some preliminary. Same with the next one. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, the next one's VA 22-10. This is a variance from sidewalk requirements. They are requesting to pay the fee in lieu, and this is at 106 Strange Drive. It's a medical clinic, a dermatology that's operating or moving into an existing building. Because of the amount of construction they're doing, they're triggering the sidewalk requirements. But they have some constraints as far as a parking lot. On one side, it's a real wide open curb cut. That would have to be redone to get it to grade. The other side has kind of on-street parking that sort of backs out into the road. But if they were to relocate on that side, they could affect some existing old trees, and then it's kind of a hard tie into the adjacent property. This also went to the Board of Appeals on August 24th, and they recommended it for approval.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Is this on the corner of Carver? Is this on the corner of Carver?
Yes, Strange and Carver's on the northwest corner of that.
Okay, all right. Then we've got third public hearing, consideration of the tax millage, and third public hearing, consideration of the adoption of the budget. And obviously, the tax millage has been provided for a 1 mil increase or no increase whatsoever. And I would like to.
Can we flip those 2 items?
I think we have to adopt the millage before we can adopt the budget, don't we?
Do we? Okay.
So.
Is there a general conversation between the board? I saw the email, the different, was there, this work session, that's something we can hash out now?
And that's where I was going, because I wish to implore the board members who are, I think, against a mill increase, to think of it in multiple ways. We are now looking at, our bill grant, for example, it has gone from an 80-20 match of 4 years ago to a 50-50 match, basically. Our last numbers are in the $21 million range. We have, and I asked former Alderman Dumas, who is now working at the TAP grant, for the latest information on the TAP grant. So the one that we are joining with the university on for the College View, going up 182 to College View. The total project budget's $2 million, so we're gonna owe $200,000 if it works out to that amount. We hope to have a notice to proceed by December 1 with a 5-month construction window, so he'll be asking for reimbursement late spring and early summer. I have no idea if that's in the budget or not. I don't know that it is. But one of the things, and I've said this numerous occasions, I said it back when I was CAO, I said it when I wasn't involved in the city, and I'm saying it now. As a business person, it is extremely difficult for us to, as business people, to raise our rents, raise our prices, raise our costs of passing on to the customer, which you do. I will pass on rent to my renters. As the taxes go up, I have to pass those on. If we do it in smaller increments of 1 mil or 1 mil, it is much easier to do and much less onerous than doing it, suddenly we've got to raise it 2 mils, or suddenly we've got to raise it 3 mils. So I would implore you to think your way through that, because I do think that these costs are going to continue to rise. I don't know that we're necessarily going to level out. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll all get lucky and construction costs will come down, and it won't be $300 a square foot. It'll be, $250 a square foot. It'll be something reasonable. But I would really ask you to consider that additional mill this year. And we may find ourselves in a position of having to do another mill next year. We just don't know. But I would ask you to consider that, because whatever maybe squishiness allows us to do things that are unforeseen. and some things that are foreseen, but not necessarily, we don't know how much they are at the time we're planning on them. So I would just ask you to consider that. So that's my plea to this. Discussion at any point. Alderman Sistrunk, as budget chair, do you want to add anything to that? I think we know where you stand.
I think we know where I stand, and I would say that we do have organic growth year over year. We also have organic growth in terms of our revenues. We also have organic growth in our expenses. And this year was a year where we have taken a pretty significant hit in personnel costs because we're having to meet market standards to be able to hire policemen and firemen. That's 90% of what's driving all of this. The budget that we proposed with the $1 million increase also has $500,000 of vacant positions in it. I went back and looked at how we compared year over year in the police department and the fire department, which are our two biggest general fund departments. Budget expense, whether we came in at the end of the year for personnel above or below budget. And over a 4-year period, we ranged from running maybe $150,000 under budget, that squishiness that Alderman Rupp talks about, to almost $450,000 over budget one year. So that's the bad squishiness that we don't talk about. I think the other thing that we have to think about is while the budget is a single year, it really does position us going forward for what happens year over year over year. And you're avoiding a tax increase this year and setting yourself up to step off a pretty big curve next year when hopefully the police department is fully staffed and the fire department is fully staffed. I don't think what we want to do is go, we're going to reduce the fire department by 9 positions to save that $500,000 next year, to guarantee that we have that $500,000 next year. So I just think that we're being a little short-sighted. We're doing what people like to hear. We're not raising taxes, but we're being short-sighted in terms of what will happen to us in 2024 and going forward. And while there will be some sales tax growth with the Marshalls, Aldi, shopping centers, let's never lose sight of the fact that is committed to TIF bonds, and that it will have no impact on us from a ad valorem perspective, because that's committed to a tax bond, to a TIF bond.
They're gonna ask that early.
I'll be shocked if
Get those targets and ask for those bonds to be issued.
I'd be shocked if they don't. And in addition to 75% of those taxes being committed to a TIF bond, so it's we collect the money, but we're going to turn around and pay it out. We're going to have some, in Mayor Wiseman's terminology, some cannibalization from other areas, grocery stores. While the average Aldi outside of California, the average Aldi generates about $14 million in revenue sales. That's a lot of money. They're not going to be $14 million of new grocery sales here in Starkville. It's going to pull anything I buy at Aldi's is just taken away from the sales tax that I paid at Kroger. You know.
Go serve it on our Castleberry Farm. Now,
So
let me ask you this.
So I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of reasons to have supported that development, and I supported that development. A lot of reasons too, but a revenue boost was not one of them.
Not in the short term.
Not in the short term.
Did we not know this going in the front? I mean, I
With
felt
the
like I
tariff?
was turning purple in the face talking about the cannibalization of the grocery business in Starkville. That we had, and then Jennifer Greger came in here and did a PowerPoint and said, we have tapped our grocery market. Unless you start closing down the Piggly Wiggly in Matheson and the Piggly Wiggly down at Ackerman and places like that, we have pretty much tapped our grocery market. So when Aldi does 12, 14, $15 million worth of grocery sales, Jeff, next year, a lot of it's gonna be, come down the street from Kroger. And guess what the folks were doing down at Kroger? We're capturing their, they paid 7 cents sales tax, we just captured that sales tax. When it goes to come to audit, we don't capture that sales tax anymore. It's gonna go to service debt on when those bonds issue, they'll be what? County, city together be what?
$4.5 million.
Ours and counties together?
Yeah, the bond issuance will.
How much was the total tax abatement, whatever you wanna call it, for the city? I thought ours was 4 million, I thought the county's was about the same amount. What was it?
We pledged 100% of our ad valorem taxes.
75%
And
of sales.
75% of our sales taxes, and we agreed to size the bond, no, we pledged 100% of our sales taxes. And we agreed to size the bonds at 100% of our ad valorem taxes and 75% of our sales taxes.
The county placed all of their ad valorem tax.
They pledged all of their ad valorem tax, and they will size at 50% of their ad
So
valorem tax.
when bonds were issued, what will the bond issue be? You know,
That, if I can remember, if I'm remembering correctly, the total bond will be $4.5 million. The debt service is probably 500,000 plus 15.
So 15 years, we won't see the revenue.
Well,
Very little.
but let's also remember, it's not just groceries. We have a much wider spread of retail coming there that we don't have, that people are going to Columbus for. So I don't think it's just the grocery cannibalization, although that's a concern.
Just if they buy something in that shop.
I understand.
And they had to go somewhere else for us to capture any sales.
Well, I
They may.
understand, but there is a draw to the things that are coming in there, from PetSmart to Ulta to Five Below. I mean, there is a draw.
If we draw people in and they buy something, we have to buy something Starkville, we don't capture sales tax on it, it's good for us.
Well, it's kind of life, though.
15.
Yes, it does.
Well, let's see.
And I think it'll pay out.
2037.
But it'll pay out sooner than that if it is a successful center. It'll pay out sooner than 15 years, I think.
Oh.
An extra 100 people, how many employees too?
Yeah.
On the payroll.
Yeah. So there are other elements
That's
to it.
what
and I
I'm saying,
understand
there
that.
are reasons beyond just a revenue boost that you do those things.
But it's expensive venture forward, and we'll be see, we won't catch it. And who knows, that topic might not have developed. I mean, it's a good argument that says that, you know, that thing's been 5-10 more years, won't ever develop, and might have developed it in that thing. But we artificially help produce that shopping center by our local tax incentives. And we may not necessarily see people come here that end up buying somewhere else that we capture, but we will absolutely see some Kroger people or some Walmart people that will go to Aldi. When they buy that, we lose sales tax there. And
I think we do that.
And we had, you know, the thing is, we'll have general budget expenditures to that project. If a building catches on fire, or there's a police emergency in that parking lot stuff, those businesses, when we respond there, are businesses where we're not capturing sales tax on, to put in our general fund to pay for fire and police that we have these budget constraints on right now. We talk about how short we are for money and stuff. So I mean, that's.
I understand, and that ship is safe, I mean, that's where we are. But for budgetary discussion purposes, you know, that's something that has to be taken into account in terms of what we're gonna get back from. But that still is also a year away, because they've got to capture data for a year before they get to that.
But we opened this thing up, we talking about the tax stuff.
Yes.
The ad valorem
Yes.
tax, and that was, we brought that up.
And what we should do this coming year, as those tax dollars come in, we should set up our debt reserve fund with those tax dollars.
You know what I was suggesting, and while we got this equal money, that we put 100, how much already in starting pay raises early? How much is it?
152.
152, and I don't know what that, if we get down to, I think we ought to take 500,000 of that money and put in our cash reserve fund right now. I mean, and put that on the budget, teach, and commit to doing that. That's $500,000 at one time money. I mean, it's 800,000, our part of the sale of Nucor. We're gonna use down probably a couple, $300,000 of that, but I think it would, our system I was talking about the other day, that bonding companies, the interest rates you get on general obligation bonds depends on your cash reserve. You, Honorable, you married, you know about that. And the more cash reserve you got, look, let me say something. When you look at Jeffrey and smile like that, this is where we need to discuss this stuff. We ain't gonna discuss it in a boardroom on Tuesday night, looking at each other like this. This is,
And I can smile at all of
I know,
you
but
just
that's
told
like,
me.
it's like, that's to me, that's like, I don't have the right to say this in a meeting.
No, it is not. It's not even remotely like that. So let's not go down that.
But I'm just saying, that we haven't decided what we're gonna do with that cash reserve. That's not, we budget, but that money, is it gonna go? It doesn't, as I understand it, if we don't increase our millage rate, we can budget out on Carver and, you know, balance our budget, remain at 2.4 something million dollars in cash reserve, freeze out the jobs that we're not gonna hire next year because we don't feel like we bring them on fast enough and balance our budget. But that still doesn't answer where that leftover money from the new court bill is gonna go. I would advocate, or I would suggest that we put it in cash reserve. Why not? That build our cash reserve up to $3 million. That makes the bond makes it look better to bond people, makes it fun.
And I would say, when we get to the end of the year, and we're a month from the end of the year, we'll know what that excess is. And cash reserves is an excellent place to put it, or to restrict it for capital purposes, so that when we have to come up with a match for a grant or something else, we've got that we haven't planned for this year, that we've got that money and it's available for
That's
use.
the question, I never heard, like restriction for capital purposes, like, that's not an earmark, but can you restrict?
It's not an earmark.
We can,
Earmark.
we're the board, we can do whatever we want to,
Well,
so.
we're talking about fiscal responsibility and financial shortfall on one side, and we're talking about the bond rate we're gonna pay on general obligation bonds, and that just shores up our bond, our cash reserve fund, general fund reserve fund by $500,000, it gets to $3 million. That makes that's our bond, we're safer, I mean, we're more solid, makes our bond rate, what we pay on general obligation bonds go down. I don't understand why we don't do that right up front, why we gotta wait the first year to do that?
Well, I'm sorry for interrupting, but what I was gonna say was, in addition to impacting the interest rates that we'll pay on bonds, which is a very, very direct impact, it also may keep us from having to buy insurance on bonds. When we issued the Cornerstone bonds, we had to buy insurance in order to get a reduced interest rates. And so there's a lot of moving pieces and parts, and just like in your personal life, the more cash you have, the more savings you have, the more the better able you are to manage these other things as they come along.
Well, and that was part of what we talked about last board meeting, about having a cash reserve that allows us to be attractive to the bond rating.
Here's our chance.
Well, we're at 2.7 now, which is.
No, we're not. We do, it just depends on whether that mill goes into effect or not.
Yeah, without the mill, it'll come down.
But
Yes.
so without the mill, you balance and you put 500,000 in the fund, now you got 3 million in reserve fund, and you balance your budget. And, I'm just saying, we can do that, but if we're talking about pushing it on down the road and figuring out where we might use it in capital funds. I mean, I know where capital funds go, where money kind of where potential can go. And I just think that if we're gonna be good fiscal management of people's money, that 500,000 is going in cash reserve, and it's one-time money, and that's a good place to put it. And I think it's good government for us to do that.
And it's the only way we ever build those reserves, because as you pointed out repeatedly, the state does not allow us to build reserves. We
They
cannot,
build stuff in reserve fund, they allow us to
we
do it.
cannot budget in excess of revenue. So the only time we have an opportunity to add to those reserves are when we have a year that, for whatever reason, we wind up with more revenues than expenses.
What's the number that you look?
I was just thinking, the millage increase, we gotta be concerned about this annexation we're doing too. We gotta be concerned about that, you know. So the millage increase gonna have to help us with this annexation. We don't know what all we're gonna run to with this annexation, so. I'd rather do the millage increase now and then try to do two the next 3, even though you know I don't like millage increases anyway. I'd rather do it now instead of wait, try to do it 2 or 3 mil next time. I don't see it that way. We gotta be concerned about this annexation, what we're not ready to have, the equipment and everything. We gotta end up getting more equipment for this annexation that we got planned. So I think the millage increase is what we need to do now instead of trying to do it 2 or 3 steps at a time.
Alderman Carter?
So you're saying that the state doesn't like cash reserves, or does it, you know?
It doesn't allow us to
Allow us to
budget
go.
for
Well,
us.
that's our ending fund balance, right?
Right.
How do they allow?
It
us
just,
to have-
Good money happens.
it just happens over time.
You have to ask to build it, but they don't allow you, by law to do it.
Don't
They-
budget for it.
But they can't budget for it, because if they do, they'll say you're over budget, you're over tax.
Zero-based budget.
Exactly. But they get the budget for 3% rate. Because they're smarter in Jackson than we are Starkville. And I'm
You
saying,
can't fight that battle.
no, I'm just saying, I'll keep this on record, I mean, that's like, okay, we can't manage our money at the local level, but they can, so they get a 3% rate aid fund, and we don't, you know, unless we just really good money managers have money left over at the end of the year, or we have one-time money like this, which is, you know, that's alone.
And through the years, Alderman Carter, it's come from one-time monies, vacant positions. Sometimes we've had some monies come in from federal reimbursement programs where we've borne the cost on the front end, like with some COVID monies, and we got reimbursed that later. So it just
I think
adds
you and I
up.
came on board, it was in probably $500,000.
It was, that was
It was
Mayor Camp's.
gravely low, and I say
Yes,
something
it was.
like it.
We
Yeah, it
were-
was
we
good.
had-
500, 600.
It was, and that was Mayor Camp. He didn't believe that you should have any funds back because that's his business mind versus the government, which is different. Because from a bonding standpoint, you've got to be able to, you know, get a good bond rating, so.
And we only have one chance each year to set these
Yes.
rates. So, if we're in a business, you can adjust your prices as
Exactly.
you need to throughout the course of the year. We have one shot at it.
All right, Alderman Brooks, Alderman Rock, anything further?
Well,
Was that yes or no?
yes, I thought Alderman Brooks was.
Well, if y'all are gonna defer to one another, somebody's gonna speak up.
First of all, I apologize to our board meeting for using the term squishy.
It's a
disparaging.
it's as good, it's as good a term
It's
as.
okay.
as good a
It's
term
okay
as-
with squishy. And then you smile at me instead of giving me the stinky eye like you usually do. And he
And I get in trouble from Alderman Beatty, that's right.
So, just philosophically, we disagree that the mill is about 1% of our budget, right? 27, a little more than 1%.
Yeah.
If we can't find 1% of the $27 million.
Show me where, show me where.
Well,
We've
the
already
ending
got,
fund
that's,
Oh, that's what we just talked about.
That's what we were
That's
just
getting the best
talking
bond
about.
rating. Right?
So that $300,000 is going to affect our
in the fund
bond.
balance. It will,
It will.
it will.
Well,
It will, but if you put that $500,000 in the fund balance, you balance out this budget for $3 million in the fund balance and a balanced budget.
so, well, I don't support the tax increase, and I will support it. And I hope that you make that motion. But
Yes, sir.
Chief Nottingham.
He was.
He was.
He's hiding out now.
All right.
Yes.
I've gone through this before, you know, and I can't keep up. I'm just gonna ask you the latest one. How short are you on employees now? I'd like to ask you about that.
Well, we just hired 2 certified reasons, so I'll expect that 15.
All right, I think the fire department's about 17, so short.
Well, it depends on how you count. Yeah, if you have, Fire Station 5 closed, then less, but if you have it open, then yeah.
30-something short. All of those positions are budgeted. All 30-something positions budgeted at $50,000 position. So we're in, you know, so that's, $45,000, $50,000, $1 million or so, $1.5 million. They're budgeted positions. Now, wish we could hire them all, but you can't budget on this, you can't budget on the fact that, well, I know we can't hire them all, but the fact of the matter is, you can't hire them all. You know, I mean, try as hard as you can, I don't believe he's gonna get all of them hired. And so, I mean, if you get 10 of them hired, or if you get 15 of them hired, you still got a number. If you come up 5 short at that number, there's your 200, there's your meal right there. We got them all hired except for the 5, then, or 6. You know, I know you've got the positions you've got frozen, but.
That's $500,000. That's $500,000 that we've got in there that's the frozen Vega.
That's
however
5
you
and 2. That's 5 and 2. That's not, that's way short of the 18 that we're short and the 17 that we're short. You know, that's 5 and 2 is what you had on there. 2 police officers, I think, and 5 firemen. So you know, that's my point is that.
It's $500,000. And if you're using if you're using 50,000 per person, then that's 10 people, firemen, policemen, whatever you want to call them. And if y'all, we don't have to do a tax increase. We do not. I think my job as the budget chairman is to tell you, we're stepping off a curb. Is it a tiny curve? Is it a big curve? I think we're stepping off a big curve. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me. You can do your own research. You can feel like it's good, you know, that we've got enough squishiness in there to cover all this. That's fine. And after we've voted on this, we'll move on to the next thing. And when we have a project comes up that's not budgeted, we're gonna have a year-long situation where we're gonna be going, that's a great project, where's the money gonna come from? And so it just, and then the year after that, you still got this $500,000 hole and the $300,000 hole that you filled with ending fund balance. So you're going into the next year with an $800,000 hole.
No, I hope we go into the next year with a full complement of staff, because that's the whole point of having those positions. But, you know, if we do, we do, if we don't, time will tell on that.
But it's.
What we're doing this year, everybody in the room is having a robust discussion of our budget. It's uncomfortable, but we have, in the prior, since I came on 3 years ago, there was a year where we didn't have a robust discussion on our budget. It was brought to us, handed to us, and said, you like this. If you like it, we're gonna go with it. If you don't, tough for you. And this is a robust, this is what governments are supposed to do, is hammer out freaking budgets. And this is the time of year for us to do that. And so the idea that we're wasting time, or we're in an imposition on somebody or something like that, because we're talking about the budget is just ridiculous. This is what we're supposed to do.
Did somebody say that somewhere? Did I miss something?
I can tell you, you know what we recant meetings we've had in that board running in prior years where budgets were brought in.
We're talking about right now.
But I'm just telling you,
We're talking about right
that's
now.
been in the past.
We're moving forward.
Well, some of us had to kind of push that out to 4 months so we could have a budget discussion this year. And so, but I will say this, on that $500,000 reserve money, I mean, it's left over from UCOR. I don't think that needs to get put in a capital improvements reserve from a fund, squirrel off into paying for capital projects that, you know, that I just don't, I think that ought to go in our rainy day fund, our cash. Why would, I mean, that is one-time money, and that makes us, that's just fiscally sound government for us to do that. And I don't know why we have to wait for, January 23 to decide what we're gonna do that $500,000. That's what, I mean, that's the decision we have to make Tuesday. What we're gonna do with that.
It is a decision we'll make Tuesday, because you'll either have a motion to approve a budget that reduces the fund balance and essentially eats up some of that $500,000. And I'm not sure it's gonna be $500,000. I think it's gonna be a little less than that, but you'll have an opportunity to vote on that Tuesday night. And I do think we've kind of beaten this dead horse to death, and I don't know that we're gonna change anybody's. Y'all aren't gonna convince me that we're good going into it. I'm not gonna convince you that we're,
yeah. It's really important project. I read the Plum's paper about Plum's going through their budget process. They're hammering that out right now, trying to say what they're gonna do. Their budget's about the same size as ours, made up a little different. They have more sales tax than we have. They have more retail sales than we have. But their millage rate's about 2/3 of what ours is. Mill of engine rate's $995,000, $200,000. Over here on mills, mill rate's $306,000, $305,000, $306,000.
and in Oxford, $400,000.
But we about to reappraise one's reappraised.
It was done last year.
That is the
number.
305
It's
and 304 that. But so, anyway, I know they're hammering that out, and that's the issue, but they're going through that process, and they're supposed to. And so we need to do the same thing.
All right, let's move on to amending the Unified Development Code. Mr. Haviland will have in your packets a summary of the changes associated with the modifications and the, all right, thank you. Associated with the things that we have noted for that particular topic. And so it'll be in there that you can go through that. Ms. Sistrum? Yes.
And I was going to say, from conversations with Mr. Haviland, this is an amendment, and then we'll have another chance to deal with some things that
Yes,
didn't get
before Christmas,
built
we're
into this.
expecting, there's a couple other items that couldn't make it into here because of timing, and so we should be able to get that accomplished before Christmas.
All right, but anyway, it'll be in your packet, and we'll have a public hearing on it, so you'll have that accessible. Next one, the mayor's business, we have consideration of a lobbying proposal, corporate relations management, CRM. As I think you recall, we've used Cornerstone before. We had three, we went out for proposals, we got 3 proposals, and the evaluation of the CRM folks, Cornerstone resubmitted, but they have a conflict, in my opinion. They also represent Mississippi State University. And so that left us with 2 proposals that made sense, and this was the one that was, after some research through some former lobbyists and some folks, our representatives, et cetera, I believe that they felt like these folks would represent us best. They've got 40-plus years of experience and have some good connections down in Jackson, so.
The price,
I'm sorry?
the price.
$37.5 for a 2-year contract. 37.5 1 year, 37.5 the next year, which is less than Cornerstone and less than the other bid. Okay. All right, thank you. Consideration of juvenile curfew extension. The chief was going to provide us with a little bit of a rundown on that, and we need to act affirmatively one way or the other on whether or not we wish to extend that juvenile curfew. So, chief, did you end up with getting something in the packet or not? I didn't see it come through, so.
We did not, ma'am, and I apologize for, we had some.
You were a little busy, weren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
But we could work on it for Tuesday night, between the session.
Okay.
If you would.
Yeah, if you have a recommendation, do you know, that is to extend, I'm sorry.
What is his recommendation?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, our recommendation is to extend it, and again, just a reminder, that event was a 17-year-old, so the ability to enact curfews and get early warning signaling of children that might be in a problem environment is still very important.
Well, he was one of the ones actually who had been caught lifting car handles, had he not? I looked at the list of things that he had been charged with, and I thought auto theft or burglary was one of them.
Right, but in those order, as the ordinance can't comment on juvenile, but with the, from the adult standpoint.
Yeah.
Consent, Mayor.
All right. Anybody have any issues, consent for that? Renewal of contract with Humane Society, same contract, just extending it, same amount as we've been giving them, so in consent there. Consideration of adopting a resolution, and this is to, we've got to have a resolution that goes with the ARPA request that we are now in the process of submitting. Ms. Williams is working on that. She's the point person pretty much for that, for all the departments from engineering to utilities, et cetera. So this is something that has to be done as a part of that request for the infrastructure matching funds. Am I accurate in saying that?
It's pretty much getting approval to apply for those grants.
And I've not read it yet, so could we leave it off consent until I can read it, and then I'll be happy to put it on
Sure.
consent
It
Tuesday
has,
night.
yeah, it has to be done in order for us to
Yes,
actually
yes,
get those
absolutely,
funds.
absolutely.
Okay.
And I know the month is short.
Yes, yeah, actually, it is. Has to be in, when is it, 15th?
Sorry?
The 15th, doesn't have to be?
The end of the month is when the
End
portal
of this
closes.
month? Okay, there's something else that's due on the 15th, okay. All right, airport, we have we have grant match here. NDOT match 5%. Anything you wish to add? There it is. Anything you wish to add about any of your airport issues?
NDOT's working on the 5% portion for us. They
Okay.
called me today.
Okay,
So it could be
okay, all right.
Consent.
Consent?
On that number one, the city match 5%, that's airport funds.
That's airport funds, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
everybody knows that. That's-
Jet fuel sales.
Yeah.
Thank you for buying.
It's
And
cheaper.
contract, well, that's good. Contract for the corporate hangar and expansion of the south ramp. And all of this is done for the airport board, and they've been good with it, right?
That's it.
Consent for that?
But that's number two, that's not actually for the hangar, that's for the foundation, correct?
Right, is that for the foundation for the hangar
And it's
itself?
on the foundation and the taxiway. That's what the
Okay.
hangar is, that's right.
Okay, all right. And then, travel for Mr. Lincoln and, Mr. Bouchard. Consent for that? Okay. Community development, we've got a request for a COA, certificate of appropriateness for Greensboro Street. There was no issues with that, he's just adding a porch, is that correct?
It's just for repair or replacing what's
Replacing.
there with the same material, and it was unanimously recommended.
Okay, all right. Consent for that one? All right, thank you. Engineering, we've got a low quote for drainage on Schatz Avenue. Anything associated with the engineering thing that is beyond what we normally are looking at?
Not for that item, ma'am.
All right, consent for that. Safe Streets and Action Plan Grant, this goes back to budgeting issues. So this is a Safe Streets Road Action Plan Grant, which we have to have an action plan in order to apply for funds from this, Safe Streets and Roads for All, which is a federal program. So in order for us to do this, it's a 20% match. The minimum is $200,000. So if we got an action plan that we're gonna cost us $200,000, we've got a 20% match for it. But if we don't apply for it, then we're not gonna get a chance at, what is it, $5 billion or $1 billion?
It's
or
$1 billion a year for 5 years.
$1 billion
In
a year
Mississippi,
for
it's
5 years.
1%, so 10 million in Mississippi.
How much for 5 years?
$1 billion a year for 5 years. It's a federal program.
But Mississippi will receive
Mississippi
1%,
won't.
so
Yeah.
10 million per year for Mississippi.
Yeah,
So
for
$50
5
million.
years. Yes, so,
And,
anyway.
and if I'm remembering what Mr. Burnett had told me about the purpose of this particular grant is, it is to make our streets safer and reduce traffic fatalities in streets. And so it may be directly street related, or it may branch into sidewalks
Yes.
adjacent to streets that are less, so it's very important, and I think I support applying for it. We did not budget for it, so, it's one of those things. Yeah.
So it's got to be applied for, money awarded, it's awarded to us.
Yes.
It's got to come to fruition like that before we got to come up with money, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And
So-
we do anticipate an interlocal agreement with MSU, it's verbal, but that would help share the cost of the patch.
Consent? Okay, all right. Yeah, and working with MSU was one of those things that we thought was a very good thing, because they don't have an action plan either, so we can work together to make that happen. Accepting the low quote from Carson to install the bridge. This is the bridge for the Sportsplex that we have done a good part of it in-house, but there are some bridge skills we don't have, so consent for that one. And then change order to 11 calendar days and no price increase for the Sportsplex drainage, due to weather delays. Consent for that. All right, claims docket, I'm going to pass that. Fire department is position to allow Starkville to accept a grant for whatever it is, automated external defibrillators. So consent for that one. All right. And then HR, we've got hirings for assistant city planner and for environmental services department, Ms. Jones, Tychoris Jones is a maintenance worker in sanitation. And we have 2 folks as a temporary maintenance workers in sanitation. Consent for that one. Hire Jackson County as an entry-level firefighter and certified firefighter, so we're getting some of our firefighter roles filled. So we've got a part-time firefighter. Consent for that. Hire Mr. Weeks as a tractor operator for sanitation. Okay. To hire Nick Coe and Ravonda Smith as police officers. Again, we're filling those ranks.
And
We've got
those
a
are
rate-
certified police officers, did you say, Chief?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, and we usually put in there that they're certified, so Lisa, would you bump that into, say, certified, please? Okay, thank you for noticing that. Then a radio operator dispatcher for the police department, okay? And then part-time custodian, thank goodness, for utilities. And then apprentice lineman for utilities, okay? And that takes care of that. Under parks, we have discussion to approve, or consideration discussion. These are the construction science department built benches last year, and they gave them to us at a very good price, and they're doing it again this year. Briar Jones is sort of in charge of that program. It's a really cool program. Where Brandon got lost. Okay. Anyway, so that's what we're looking at, is we have benches in multiple locations. These are mostly for Cornerstone, but it's a good price for it, and it's a nice collaboration. So consent for that? And then authorization to advertise for 3 concession stand trailers. So these will go to each one of the quads, and they will be places from which people will get concessions. There'll be storage opportunities, ice, drinks, the whole bit. They also are movable, so they can conceivably go to the sportsplex and service over there as well. So that's what this is about.
So I don't know the cost of it.
And, no, it's an advertising for it.
Just advertise.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Police, we have attendance at conferences. You can stop me if there's anything there that you want to talk about. Another instructor course there. Used vehicle for undercover stuff. Gray Key Mobile Forensic Software. Hotspot Justice Assistance Grant, okay? And then purchasing vehicle mounted LPRs, there we go, for the license plate readers, so, okay? And then attending another DARE officer training, and all that's reimbursable. Consider for that? All right. Sanitation, we're going to pull the Waste Pro contract because we want to work out some details, but we'll bring that back on September the 20th. No? Yeah, 20th. Sorry.
20th?
You had 14 days, whatever it is,
17?
whatever day it is. You had 14 days to read. So, yes, 17th.
20, oh, meeting's on the 6th. Never mind.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
late this
I'm
year,
now-
late.
I've now confused myself. Whatever day our next meeting is when we will bring that back.
Is that like on the next board meeting?
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
Next board meeting, I'm sorry, yes. And then Mr. Smiley needs to go to Swana in Natchez. So consent for that. Utilities, we have a presidential determination. I'm gonna let Mr. Latimer roll with that one.
So in 1950, Congress enacted the Defense Production Act, which authorizes the president in times of domestic industrial-based shortfalls to streamline the process for acquisition of critical infrastructure for the country. He did that this year with 2022-19. He determined that electric transformers and power grid components are critical to the industrial base and the defense of the country. So it streamlines the production and acquisition of those items. So we are following suit from a state law standpoint. The theory is if the president can say these are emergency purchases, we can too under state law. So that's all we're doing here. If Edward buys transformers or electric grid components, it'll still come before the board. This will just streamline the process for him to get them quickly because there is a shortage of transformers right now, and the board will approve them on the back end.
Okay, all right.
Consent.
Consent for that one. And then last but not least, authorization to accept the lowest quote from Performance Fence Company to install a fence. All right. We will have one item under personnel executive session.
Mayor, one question about
Yes, sir.
that license plate reader. Is that primarily the department over there?
Yes.
It wouldn't be used just that.
No. Although, we might find other use for it, but yeah.
No, you're 16.